Hey guys, welcome to Thelearningdroid. Bow down down down. Don't know why I did that. I've been having a little bit of trouble being accurate recently. A little bit of trouble being focused and taking a lot of care, so this is going to be fun. This is going to be a fun pattern to try and do while I'm not 100% focused. Obeche wood this time. And once again we're going to be trying these little pyro vlog things. Likelihood this patterning bit hasn't cooled down since my last thing, so I'm going to hold it in a piece of cloth and just screw it in. Lefty loosey, righty tighty. I think. Okay, I'm getting confused as to which direction I'm supposed to turn it. That's okay. I'm an idiot. It's okay to be an idiot sometimes. I really don't know which direction I'm supposed to be turning this. I am obviously far too stupid for my own good. So stupid that I nearly picked it up with my bare hand then. Oh, good grief. This is one of those times when I really wish you guys weren't watching. Oh, crikey. I'll be back in a moment. And he's back. Look, it's on. I figured out what I was doing wrong. I was holding it in my left hand and I am right-handed. This is stupidity. If you are right-handed, you should be doing delicate tasks with your right hand. It makes them easier. A little bit of spare, or sort of spare, masking tape. We use the light and the fact that I can see the pattern through this paper. A lot of people say, how do I line patterns up like this, because they can't see their pattern through the piece of paper. This paper is 80 gram per square metre paper, so it's lighter than most normal printing paper. 80 gram, 70 gram, 30 gram, whatever. Standard printing paper is usually 90 or 100 gram, so if you get something a little bit lighter, it just makes it easier to see the pattern through it. Oh, hot, 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 hot. One of the risks of doing this is, especially with a hot machine, as I just used because I've just finished one piece of pyrography, a hot machine will sort of heat the piece up faster because it doesn't have to heat the machine itself, and you can scorch the wood underneath. That's probably scorched the top of this wood. That's okay, these things happen. Probably hasn't transferred the pattern across very well either. Yeah, if you're getting smoke coming off your patterning paper, you've probably scorched the wood underneath. But that happens. There's not really a lot you can do about it once it's done. I mean, you can sand it off and sand underneath the scorch, because the scorch isn't going to be very deep. You can sand it all off and start again, as I will show you with that god-awful pagan pentagram thing I did. That was just embarrassing. So one of the reasons, if you want to get into leather pyrography, you should always start with wood, because there's not really anything you can do with leather once you've screwed it up. Once you've screwed up a piece of leather, once your pyrography's been done wrong, you're done. That's just the way it goes. There's no fixing it. Unless you've got another pattern that you can do over the top that uses all those mistakes and lines for itself. Being a little bit more judicious with the patterning tool today, because I don't want to, or this time around, because I don't want to lose my pattern. Let's have a look. Oh, beautiful. There we go, guys. Twin brothers sitting on opposite branches, being very grumpy at each other. as twin brothers are undoubtedly supposed to do. That is sit on branches, not be grumpy at each other. Twin brothers should always sit on branches whenever they see one. And I will now get angry claims from parents that their kids climbed trees and fell out. Because that's the way YouTube is. Everything you say is taken the wrong way. So once again, nice hot piece. You can do this with a cloth, with these big round ones. Once you get them past the initial grip, just make sure you don't touch the machine or the piece with your bare hands. Nice fine needle point. Once again, careful not to touch the machine or you burn your knuckle, like I did. Ay. Really, my hands are really in a not a very good condition at the moment, and it's not because of the burn. I suffer from a skin condition called eczema, and at the moment, although my skin isn't particularly bad at the moment, in that I don't have many open wounds, I am at the moment in a situation where my skin is very tight. It's on the brink of splitting, which means that my hands are a little bit clumsier than they normally are. Combine that with trying to talk while doing small and fiddly tasks, and I'm going to be crap. But that's okay. So, one of the problems with the Weller machine, and with a lot of solid point with a lot of single temperature machines in general, is that the cable is very thick and not very flexible. So it can be a little bit awkward to get into a position where you're doing your pyrography comfortably. That for me works quite well. I hook it over my arm. I didn't do that in the last piece, which may explain why I was having so much trouble. And always make sure you've got a good light source. At the moment I've got 2 spotlights over the top of me to give me a nice good light source for my pyrography. By the way, it's very boring when it's not sped up. Very boring when it's not sped up. I usually speed it up to 4 or 5 times normal speed. Sometimes a little bit more, sometimes a little bit less, depending on how long it took me to do the piece. And now, instead of talking about pyrography, I am talking about YouTube. So when you do little details like this, you can do staged burns. So you do a very, very light, gentle pass just to get the start of the burn, and then you add in, with little movements, the extra depth and extra darkness for the burn. You can also do almost like a point list style, but because you're not on end grain, you can merge the dots you make a little bit more effectively. You can try and do a single burn, where you burn it all the way with the single stroke. It's really up to you and what you feel comfortable with. Solid point workers, solid point pyrographers tend to be on the more beginner stage. I mean, I know there are loads of professionals who use solid point, but they tend to use them for specific things. For instance, professional pyrographers or higher level pyrographers who want to do more point style, more point burning, dot art, that sort of thing, tend to like solid point machines, because a wire machine you have the risk of the point bending because it's made of wire and it's hot. Whereas with a solid point machine, because it's so much thicker, so much more stable, you're less likely to have issues like that. At the moment I'm using a fine point bit to try and get these talons in at a high sort of degree of detail. great for very fine work like this. Most solid point machines will come with a fine point bit. The only problem is that a fine point bit in a single temperature machine will get hotter than larger bits. So it will burn deeper with less pressure and less time. Which means you have to be very careful with how long you leave it in any one place. Otherwise you'll burn far too deep. Now once again, nice bright light source lets you see what you're doing accurately. And always try and draw it away from the point, especially with a sharp point bit. If you've got a sharp point bit and you push towards the direction of travel, so for instance if I was pushing it that way, then what you get is you get it embedding into the wood and you get far deeper and less even burn. So you should always be drawing it away from the point. You might want to go deep into the wood, in which case pushing with the tip, for instance in a pointless or dot art style piece, you might want to go into the wood. That's fine, push towards it. But for the most part you'll start to lose control, start to have less accuracy in your actions if you start pushing towards the tip. Now I am certainly not skilled enough to make these look like real feathers, so I'll be going for more cartoony sort of, I won't be going for realistic feathers, going for more cartoony feather style. Some people make pieces that are astonishingly realistic. I saw a piece by a young man recently and it looked like a photograph, it looked like a sepia tone photograph. Had just been printed onto a piece of wood. And it wasn't some small sort of low detail thing, it was snow leopard actually, I believe, in this case. I'm not that good yet, and that's the thing, when you're starting out with something like this you can't expect to be perfect straight off the bat. But you should always be pushing yourself. For instance, this piece is exceedingly detailed and probably a little bit beyond my skill level. Well, probably a long way beyond my skill level. But that doesn't mean that I'm not going to try and do it. Something I learnt when I did martial arts, which is, and something that I try and teach kids as I teach martial arts, one of the biggest things with teaching a kid especially any skill is the dreaded phrase, but I can't do it. And one of the things you have to try and sort of teach kids as an instructor in anything, as a teacher, is that they can't do it yet. And that's the difference. You put the effort in, and you put the practice in, and you can do it now. I know a woman who spent a lot of her life teaching hard to teach teenagers, teaching difficult teenagers, teaching teenagers who'd dropped out of school, and she taught them English. And one of the things she always got was, I don't know how to write, I can't write. And strangely enough, a lot of the kids who said this actually did have all the skills necessary for writing. They could shape letters, they had all the sort of knowledge. In fact, most of them could write the alphabet quite easily. It's just the fact that whenever they'd written anything, they'd gotten negative feedback on it as kids, or they'd just never written anything apart from repeating out the alphabet. And yes, there is a difference between repeating the alphabet out over and over again from a book in primary school and actually writing words. But the base is there. So you can always build on it. One of the things that she used to do was she used to get them to talk about and then write about something they were really interested in. Fishing, rally racing, didn't matter what really. But as long as they were really interested in it and they knew something about the subject they were writing about, a lot of them could actually write rather well. It's the same thing with pyrography. If you're interested in it, and you take the time to practice the basic skills, such as getting your pyrography machine to be moving when it hits the piece of wood and when it comes off the piece of wood, so that you get a nice even burn, you can always start building on that. For later, for doing other things. I don't pretend to be a world-class pyrography master, but that's okay. I don't need to be a world-class pyrography master. There are plenty of them. That was never really the point of the Learning Droid. The Learning Droid's not here so that I can show you what I'm a master at. I'm not a master at anything, so how could I show you? No, it's more here to show you what I'm learning to do, what I'm practicing. And I believe this may be a delivery. 1 second, guys. No, no such thing, just someone being really noisy. If my channel was here to sort of show you what I was a master at, then it would probably be called the Master Droid, or the Champion Droid, or Great Droid Son and his mastery skills. But no. No, I'm just here doing what I enjoy doing. If you enjoy it as well, that's great. I would love to do some gamer videos. I'd love to do some Learning Droid videos of me doing some computer games that I enjoy. But unfortunately my current computer will not support the idea of recording and playing games at the same time. In fact, it's so old it won't even support the idea of playing games most of the time. I tried to play the new Deus Ex, and because I loved the old Deus Ex, it was a brilliant set of games. Second one, not so good. Third one, the new one, supposedly as good as the original old one, the first one, which was one of the best games I've ever played. But my system just says, no. My system gives me the choice, either I don't play it or I play it in 3 frames per second. Which isn't really the sort of thing I enjoy, so I decided to go with the first option, don't play it. If I get a new system, a more powerful system, I may do some video game vids. But there are loads of guys doing video game vids at the moment. There's loads of guys doing pyrography at the moment. But a lot of people want to get into pyrography, and I thought, why not? I'd never done pyrography before, so I'd learn about it. And because what I learn about it is likely to be all the stuff that people want to know about it, because it's the stuff I want to know about it, then hooray! I can show you guys what I'm learning and hopefully help some people out, hopefully help you guys out. I'm currently unemployed, so I'm not doing anything else, and that's not through choice. I'm sending out, in the last few months I've probably sent out a couple of 100 job applications, but when you live in the backside of nowhere, there aren't that many jobs going, and it's more who you know than what you know. So people are more likely to give their niece a job as a store clerk than they are some 24-year-olds who they don't know. And that's fine. That's the way of the world. Family before strangers, so it should be. But it can get frustrating at times. As you can see, I'm just working with this, trying to get a little bit of a feather pattern going. It's quite a complicated pattern, really. I'm trying to keep it so I'm dragging away. I should really turn it when I do these sideways bits, but I'm lazy. So it's an experiment to see if it can be done so that you can know, and it doesn't really appear to be able to do it. It's skipping a little bit when I try to do sideways bits, so I should really be turning it. Now, one thing that a lot of people sort of do is they don't sand. If you're using a laser printed pattern, you really have to sand your pyrography afterwards just to get rid of the excess pattern, the extra bits of the pattern. But if you're doing a hand-drawn pattern or a carbon pattern, you can usually just rub it off with a decent stationary rubber, stationary eraser. That's what British people call rubber erasers, by the way, is rubbers, because they're made of rubber. Before my American viewers start laughing. Sorry about being quiet, guys, I'm concentrating on this bit. But yeah, I'm here just to sort of show you stuff that I'm trying to learn at the moment, and sort of anything you guys want to see, really. Do you want to see me do a video on how to make mathematical units dance? How to turn watts per meter squared into kilograms per second cubed? That's always a fun one. Nah. If you want to see something on patterning or anything like that, that's fine. I've got a video lined up at the moment. I'm just having a problem getting audio for it because it's a screen capture, and it's how to turn a hand-drawn image into a really good quality laser printed pattern. So if you scan it and then print it, you'll have little bits of ink that you don't want on your pattern, little amounts of ink, which the computer just prints just to make up the colour of the page, because when you scan it, usually, I mean, if you've got a good quality scanner, you can usually select black and white and monochrome and set the scale so that the paper is white and it doesn't even recognise the paper's there. But sometimes it won't, and if you're like me, you don't have a scanner. If you're like me, you have to photograph your drawings to turn them into a pattern. And photographs aren't very good for patterns because you get all sorts of excess stuff that you don't want. At the moment, because this is the feathered top of the owl, I'm just using little strokes to try and give it kind of a slightly feathered look, slightly variated look, rather than using straight lines. Trying to add just a little bit of detail into it that's not in the pattern. At the moment, this is almost not burning at all. The layer of carbon on it is so thick that it's almost not actually burning the wood. It's more just denting it. So a little scratch to take off the built-up carbon. Bring this back round so that I have control of the machine, and there we go, it's burning the wood much more nicely again. I can even hear it burning more. So if you've got any requests, guys, feel free to drop them by. You can drop them either on the YouTube channel in comments or via personal message, or you can pop them through to me on the Facebook page that's listed on my Pyrography on the YouTube channel's homepage. There's a little thing on the right hand side that should be listing my Facebook page at the moment. If any of you want some custom pyrographic work done, that's fine. Just drop a request. As long as you're willing to pay shipping, I'm happy to ship them pretty much wherever you want them. At the moment this guy looks a little bit of a mess, but he will look better when I'm done. I hope, anyway. And if you're going to be doing a pyrography pattern, guys, you should always learn something about what you're pyrographing. For instance, owls, the feathers on their face always point down. Sounds like an odd thing to know, but if you look at pictures of owls, you'll find that the feathers on their face always point downwards. They never have feathers pointing off sideways. It's because when they fly, they're flying almost like face first. So the feathers always point sort of in a direction that's conducive to them flying with their head down, looking for prey. So all of my strokes for feathers on the face are all vertical ones. I'm not doing any horizontal strokes. If I want to use the pen horizontally, I'm turning the piece so that the piece is on its side. The only horizontal strokes I'm using are for the eyelids. That's because it's very hard to make vertical stroke eyelids look good. You see, once again, it's just denting the wood, it's not burning it, simply because there's a little bit too much carbon built up. A lot of pyrographers who do this professionally don't use a pair of pliers for that. They use a stropping strip, which is the same sort of stropping strip used to sharpen cutthroat razors, things like that. Just gives you a little bit more control, really. There we go, guys. Hope you can see that. That is our pyrography owl. So guys, give me your opinions on the new sort of vlog style. I'll unplug this so it cools down reasonably quickly, on the new vlog style of pyrography work, and we'll move on from there. Thanks a lot, guys. Bye.